Okay, everybody, this is going to be a very informative show, but it'll be a fun show. I have a fun guy that I'm going to be talking to, Richard Dufour. And Richard's a marketing director of Whitehall, Boca Raton. Whitehall, Boca Raton is a very unusual place. If you've not had to go there to visit someone or go there for your own rehabilitation after you've had either hip, knee, or any other kind of requirement for rehab, you'd be just amazed. I was talking with Richard before the show, and I was saying that one of the areas in healthcare that's really gotten a bad rap, of course, have been nursing homes and rehab centers, and probably rightfully so in some cases, because sometimes owners don't really take care of their facilities. They don't hire the right people. But I will tell everybody right now that ain't so with Whitehall. So, Richard, do you agree with me?
I certainly do. Whitehall is definitely a premier skilled nursing facility.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It really is. It's in the right location in Boca. It's in a residential community, but yet it's close to shopping. And that's important because people really who want to visit or people who are in rehab get to also leave. But Whitehall has a long history, and I know you know some of it.
I do. Correct.
The history really was where a family from Pennsylvania, and correct me if I make any mistakes here, Richard, I'm trying to remember this, came down and they had a facility up in Pennsylvania, but they wanted to do something down here. Now, when they came down, excuse me, there weren't many places to go that were like what they had in their mind, something fancy, upscale. And as we all know, Boca has fancy, upscale people.
That's correct. They do.
And so why would they want to go to anything less, right?
That is correct.
And so really, who does go to Whitehall? Why don't you give me a population image?
Sure. Generally, people that go to skilled nursing facilities or facilities like Whitehall or people that have had surgeries that may have fallen and broken their hip or need an elective knee surgery. Patients that are just, unfortunately, that got sick and wind up in the hospital. And before they go home, they go to a place like Whitehall where we care for them for several weeks, and they get phenomenal therapy, excellent nursing care, and it's just a safety precaution prior to going home.
And I'm glad you said all that, because this is, I'll tell you, I don't know if he's listening, and I won't tell anybody his name, but I had a friend who was going to have, he was going to have some sort of surgery. And I said, well, I hope that you're going to go. There are a couple of places, especially I recommended Whitehall. And he said, oh, no. He said, my doctor is the medical director at such and such, a certain place. And I know that place, and it's not that it's bad, but on a scale of 1 to 10, it's more like a 6, where I think Whitehall's a 10. So I said, no, you don't want to do that. I said, I know the place, and this is a man who has really lived a very, very high-style life. Oh, no, my doctor said that's where I should go. I said, listen, you don't have to go where your doctor says. Oh, yeah, I want to go. So he argued with me, I finally said, okay, whatever you want to do. 3 weeks later, I spoke to him. He was so mad. He was so upset. I said, I told you so. I said, the place you were going is fine. I mean, for the average person, it does what it has to do. But you're a Whitehall image. You're not what you went to.
Right. We do get a lot of calls from family members or patients themselves that have been admitted to another skilled nursing facility, and when they get there, it's not what they were promised. They don't like it. They're not happy with the service. So then they call Whitehall, and they come, and they're very, very happy.
I went not recently, my friend passed away about a year ago, and she was in her 60s, I think, and she had been in the hospital, and I think it was a mistake that she wound up dying, but she did go to a facility. And the minute I walked in, Richard, I knew she shouldn't have been there, but I wasn't the family member. It was nothing. I had no control. And so the first thing I knew was I was in her room, and she was asking for water, and no one was coming. So, of course, I, being a little bit of an aggressive person, went out to the front desk, and I said, so-and-so needs to have water. Well, we'll be right there. No, now, please. She's been asking all morning.
Right. Unfortunately, that's because a lot of the skilled nursing facilities have lower staffing. At Whitehall at Boca, we have the highest nursing to patient ratio out there. And that is because that is just what is expected, and that's what we do at Whitehall.
That's a good point. You're right. The staff, nursing, they've always had that. As a matter of fact, that was amazing to me. I don't know if it was 2, maybe 3 3 people to 1 person. It was a very high 5. I don't know, but some places have like 20.
Right. And a lot of facilities have cut back due to Medicare cuts and managed care cutbacks and stuff like that. But Whitehall not. We have remained our high patient nursing staff ratio.
Well, Whitehall is located, for those of you who are curious, you may be listening from all over South Florida, but it's located in Boca Raton in the western part. It's right off Palmetto and Power Line. And it's such a beautiful facility. They have valet parking.
We do.
You have beautiful parties. I mean, Medine, who is the administrator, she sure does dress up for the occasion. You were at the parties that she's had.
Medine is phenomenal. She is an excellent leader. She loves her staff. She loves her patients. She loves the patients, residents, families. She is absolutely extraordinary. So
I'm going to remember this is Pencil Talk Radio, so I'm going to give you some information. Get your pencils out, because you may not need Whitehall today, and you may not need it tomorrow, but you may need it in a month from now. You want to have the information. So many people call us, Richard, at our office, and say, oh, I heard the radio show 4 months ago, and I need the name of this. Well, okay. The phone number, first of all, is very easy. It's 561-392-3000. 561-392-3000. And that shows that they've been here a long time, because that's a great number. Couldn't get that number today. And their website is whitehallboca.com. whitehallboca.com. And be prepared to be overwhelmed. I always tell people that. When you go there, especially, even the holidays, they decorate everything so beautifully.
Yes, they're beautiful. Whitehall does a beautiful job. Activities department is phenomenal.
Well, tell us about some of that. I know as a marketing director, you have to go out and you have to convince people who don't know Whitehall, and I always think everybody does, but for the people who don't, what do you say about it?
I just am very honest. Everyone knows Whitehall, the fabulous reputation that Whitehall has, and they're very familiar, so my job is quite easy. I have the privilege of working with some of the most intelligent healthcare professionals in the industry: physicians, attorneys, case managers, CEOs and CFOs of some major hospitals. And I love my job. I think I'm very lucky to be with Whitehall.
Well, they also, sounds to me like they're very lucky to have you, because you've been in the hospitality business. You told me that earlier. You've been in the healthcare business, but you've also been, and I don't think I've ever met a male airline steward. Is that what I would call you?
Yeah.
And I've always wondered about that. We won't talk about that, but I've always wondered what that was like. I mean, you have all these people, and you're trying to please everybody. And did you do first class?
I did first class and coach, domestic and international.
You did both. I guess you don't get a choice. Is that how it works?
You don't get much of a choice.
Well, of course, at Whitehall, everybody really is going to get first class. It's not, they don't get a coach, right?
That is correct.
It's a first class. So let's talk a little bit about your rehab center. Rehab, I think it's growing. Last time, I did some rehab there. As a matter of fact, I had a torn meniscus, and I went to rehab there. I was an outpatient, so I went 2 or 3 times a week.
Correct.
And your physical therapist, wonderful guy.
Yes, they're phenomenal. Phenomenal.
And what I observed, though, is that there were some people who, they were elders, they were in pain, but no one ever lost patience with them.
No. We can't, because this is our career, our job. This is our life, and it is to take care of our seniors. And we have a huge volume of the younger generation, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who have to have elective knee replacements, or they may have been in a motor vehicle accident and had a hip replacement or some kind of surgical procedure. So it's not always about the seniors. We do a large volume of the younger generation.
And so, therefore, you have a lot of different therapists. I know I've spoken to many of them.
We do. A lot of them have been there 10, 15 years plus.
And when we talk about therapy, it also isn't only physical. We have people who are occupational.
Yep. For strokes, patients that have unfortunately suffered a stroke.
And speech.
Yep.
Yes. I had a big conversation with one of your speech therapists the other day, I think. Talked about that people don't realize as one ages, in their throat, things change. But if you go to a good speech therapist, they can help you to emphasize maybe places that in your throat that you had not even known existed.
Correct.
So I learned a lot from that. I always do when I talk with, people from, from the healthcare field. Well, tell me what you think about people who are there and they're actually they're on a temporary basis, and they really aren't going to have a lot of complaints, I don't think, because they get to have the kind of food they want, I think, don't they? I mean,
yes, we have an excellent chef at Whitehall, Boca Raton. Very, very, almost no complaints regarding our food. I actually have to say I do our customer service surveys when residents and patients are discharged, and they are sent back to me, and I share it with Maydeen, the administrator, and 99.9% they come back outstanding. Our customer service surveys.
Now, you know what that says. I mean, the reputation of a nursing facility or rehab center is very hard to keep up there.
It is. We all have a great team at Whitehall. We are all there for the same reason, and that is for our patients and residents.
Okay, so that being said, let's also now go into your skilled nursing. Let's talk about who is it that you're finding that are residents there? Are there the people coming from the rehab center, or who?
They may have patients, again, that may have had major or minor surgery, patients that are just frail at this point, and they just need some more care and attention. Some aggressive rehab that we do provide at Whitehall, excellent nursing care, patients that may have had a stroke.
And what about, do you have people who have dementia problems?
We do have some patients with dementia as well. We do.
And so those are units that are more carefully watched, I have to assume.
Correct. That is correct.
And, that's really starting to fill our world more than we ever had. In fact, I remember years ago when I first was in this business, people were building all these retirement communities with just apartments.
Right.
And they never saw that they had to start building assisted living, which is, of course, one down from the nursing. Mm-hmm. But they then realized that there were a lot of people who weren't going to move from their home unless they really had to. And if they had to, they needed more than just general care.
Right.
And so assisted living has been really a big change in the whole thing. And I always have to tell people, and talking about the nursing facility, assisted living is really different from nursing. Maybe you can explain the difference.
Sure. With a place like Whitehall, it is more 24-hour round-the-clock care. With an assisted living, it is basically just assisting the patient or the resident in the facility, just minor monitoring at an ALF.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know that, and they think they can be in assisted living, and they think someone's going to just sit with them and be there no matter every time they ring the bell.
That is correct.
And that's not true.
That's not true.
So people have to know more about it. Now, do you have anybody staying there who actually has an aide with them?
We do. We have quite a number of short-term and long-term residents at Whitehall that do have private duty care, private aides, whether the aides had come from home with the patient or they just would like to have extra companionship.
Yeah, I think that's happening now, too. That's something new that you thought, well, you just put mom into a nursing home and that's fine. But even as much as they have a lot of attention, they can't really be with that person, glued to the hip, and a lot of people need that.
Right, and a lot of our residents, they have had the private duty companions for many, many, many years, and we always tell them there's no reason to stop it because they've come to Whitehall. Continue with their private aide, their private companion. If that makes the patient, husband or wife or family happy, then that's what we'll continue to do.
Right, and I would like to talk about insurance a little bit. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of people now who have long-term care insurance. They've paid for it all these years. And how does that work out?
Yeah, you definitely would have to contact the long-term care policy insurance company and find out what are the benefits to the policy, because every policy is different. Some of the policies will cover 24-hour around-the-clock, either nursing or private duty aid, and some will only cover private duty or nursing several hours per week or per day. So each policy is different, and your best thing to do is to contact the company of the policy and inquire about the benefits.
But but Whitehall does take the insurance from these
Correct.
various places.
We do accept long-term care policy. Correct.
Right. And just moving right along with this, what happens when someone is in rehab and they seem to do fine and they're dismissed or whatever you would call it, they go home.
Discharged.
Discharged. Okay, not dismissed. I'm in school. Discharged. Now they go home, and I know that you have a great program that comes under occupational therapy that helps them know how now, with the problem they've had, how they can function at home.
Correct.
I mean, that's really a big thing, isn't it?
Correct. We also monitor a lot of large volume of patients that are inpatient, that are discharged home. They do come back to Whitehall for our outpatient therapy, and we continue to monitor them while they're on an outpatient basis.
Yeah, that's very important because the first thing we hear, they went home and they fell.
Right. We don't want that.
No, and then they wind up, hopefully it isn't a serious fall, and they wind up, maybe even back there. Because one thing that you've had at Whitehall, and I don't know if you still have it, there was a doctor there who helped people vision-wise.
Mm-hmm, we do.
Dr. Lampert, I think
Correct.
it is. And he helps people. It really prevents falls because he strengthens their eyes.
Yes. He's a very, very phenomenal physician.
He is. Actually, my husband and I are going to him for that because even though I don't know that I have a problem, I wanted to experience it. So when I talked about it, and sure enough, my husband and I put these thick glasses on, these thick, they're glasses with thick areas, and it forces our eyes to accommodate it, which is really strengthening the muscles.
Retraining the eye.
Right. I bet you've never done that.
No.
See? We'll have to get you to do so you feel what it's like. I do sensitivity training for lots of places. I just did one yesterday. I'm going to do one tomorrow. And that's what I do. I put all these glasses on and the hearing aids, and I put people in the body of an 80-year-old. It's almost now a 90-year-old, since 80-year-olds are a lot younger. And it is amazing what you experience when you don't feel it.
Right.
You don't know the difference. You can look, but if I give you an unfair hearing test, it is unfair. You will hear what someone who doesn't have good hearing and complains that you mumble, you will hear what that's like.
Right. The best thing to do is to experience it.
Yeah, it is. And, of course, experiencing you as a young man and someone who is living in a world where you, at the moment, wouldn't be needing it, I bet it's changed the way you look and think about this age group.
It does. It makes you more caring. It really opens your eyes. I just know from my own family members who had to go into a skilled nursing facility at one time. So I definitely understand, and we're very compassionate at Whitehall. We're very loving, and again, that's just what we do at Whitehall. When you come to Whitehall, you become part of the Whitehall family. You are our family when you come to Whitehall.
Yeah, and see, you really care. It's caring is everything as one ages. And I'll tell you a little story about doctors and what the more effective doctors and what they do. But I just want to tell everybody again, the phone number, remember, Pencil Talk Radio, it's 561-392-3000. And if, of course, you want to talk to Richard Dufour, who is here in our studio, he's the marketing director, you can do that. Or you can, just call there if you want a tour. Do you give tours?
I give tours, absolutely.
And what do you show them when someone's on a tour?
I show them everything from the entrance to the front lobby to all of our therapy. We have 4 large, beautiful therapy rooms at Whitehall. I show them our skilled nursing unit, our outdoor patio, our beauty and barber salon, everything they need to know when they come to Whitehall. I give them basic an orientation of what Whitehall is all about and where everything is located.
And I don't want to start something here, but I'll bet if they wanted lunch or they wanted a drink and some dessert, you'd probably give that to them also.
Most definitely. If that's what they like, then that's what we'll do. Most definitely.
And have you found that any of the people that you've toured have come there and become a patient?
Yeah. Again, we had talked just briefly before where we get to know the family, whether it's for their mom or their dad, and maybe 6 months later we see them again. It's mom or dad's neighbor now that is at Whitehall, or they chose Whitehall for, some surgery and, therapy, those kinds of things, and you get to know the family. Yeah.
So you see, they're afraid, just like you came in the radio station and you said, gee, you have never done this, you were a little nervous. Imagine, and here you're smart, you know what you're doing. Imagine what it's like for an elder person to go to a place that maybe they're home for a little while or maybe longer, They are so scared that it's horrible for
Yeah,
them.
they're very scared. When we give tours at Whitehall, we introduce them to Maydeen, the administrator, the admissions team, if they have any questions regarding their insurance, they know who to go to. We introduce them to the therapist, the director of therapy, the charge nurse on the unit, so that way when they do come to Whitehall, they're familiar with their face and their names, and it makes them feel so much more comfortable because they've toured and they kind of have a feeling of the faces and names that are at Whitehall. It makes the transition much more comfortable.
And how about other you don't call them patients there, particularly. What do you call them?
Residents.
Residents. Do you ever introduce them to other residents?
I do. A lot of times we'll find out that maybe they were a relative or the patient coming was in the war. So we try to get them with other residents that were in the war, and they have so much in common, and they become very close friends.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the same thing, right, with women. But is it more of a ratio of women than men in your facility?
It seems to be that there are more women than there are men.
Live longer, right?
Yeah.
But the men are actually living longer. That's another thing. So when someone comes to Whitehall, though, do they actually they sign up, or they're a family member? Do they have to be referred by a doctor?
Not necessarily. They can actually call us. There are just some requirements that they would have to have been in the hospital for at least 3 full nights if they have Medicare, for Medicare to pay for their rehab at Whitehall, or private pay if they like to come in private pay.
Mm-hmm. And so people should not be afraid. I mean, they should come in, and as you said, a tour is probably the best way for them to look at something. And of course, you're saying to yourself, why am I going to tour this nursing facility? Well, when you get there, you'll see it's not like a typical nursing facility anyway. And you'll have more confidence. You'll know if something happens to you, you can tell your doctor where you want to go. See, that's one of the major points of this, I think, this whole discussion. Doctors have affiliations, and they're not doing anything wrong, but they know certain places. And if your doctor may assign you to a particular nursing home, you don't have to go there. Why don't you explain how that works?
It's patient rights by law. Patient has the right to go where they want to go. They are or shouldn't be told to go to rehab A, B, or C if they want to go to Whitehall, Boca Raton, let's say. It's their right to go where they want to go. And I think Whitehall Boca has taken care of more physicians' families than probably any other skilled nursing facility. We have many, many, many orthopedic surgeons that only want their patients at Whitehall for their excellent nursing care and therapy we provide. They are familiar with the care and therapy, so they want their patients and their family members to go to Whitehall.
That's really interesting. Well, I like to hear about that. And your patients, do they ever? I heard this. I don't know where I heard it from. They had such a good time when they were there. They were an outpatient, or I guess they came temporarily. They came back to volunteer. So you have a lot of volunteers?
We do have a great volunteer program through our activities department. They've made friends with the nurses and the therapist, and they want to help the seniors, and so it's a great opportunity for them to volunteer at Whitehall.
So that's a good reason for them to call if they have some extra time. And what would they be doing as a volunteer?
Oh, they may be answering telephones. They may be assisting residents to and from therapy. Maybe just sitting in a patient's room and just reading to them, or just talking about the past.
That's very nice. And it reminds me, I think you also have pet therapy there.
We
I know
do.
You have birds, but
Yes.
Tell me all the things that are extra that people who, it keeps the things moving.
Right. We have a great pet therapy program at Whitehall. Everyone loves the pet therapy program we have. We have beautiful dogs that come in several times throughout the week. It keeps our residents company, the families company. It's a great program.
Right. I know when I've gone there, I've seen these little birds chirping. You still have the birds.
Yes, we still have the birds.
And they keep laying eggs.
Yep. The birds are a big part of Whitehall.
They are, aren't they? So who does the cleaning up with the?
We have a bird company that comes.
Oh, you do. You have a bird company. I was going to say you can't possibly ask the residents to do it, and all of you were so busy. I was really confused. On our seminar page in Boomer Times, we show things that are happening at Whitehall, and let me just tell you a couple of things. I think this is really interesting. Whitehall Boca Raton has a premier shuttle bus service to Century Village in Boca.
Correct.
And I guess what, you So people that are coming from Century Village to visit people or even for their therapy.
Correct. We found out a lot of seniors may not be driving anymore. Maybe the wife was the driver, and now she's at Whitehall with a fractured hip or knee replacement, and the husband no longer drives. It is an awful feeling to have a couple that have been married 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and the wife cannot visit. The husband cannot visit the wife. He doesn't have transportation. He doesn't drive. So what we will do at Whitehall is that if your wife or husband or relative comes to Whitehall and you don't drive and you live in Century Village, we will transport you to and from Century Village. We want you to go visit your loved one, your wife, your husband. We don't want you to be sitting home worried, is my wife being taken care of? Is my wife, happy? Is she eating? We will bring you to Whitehall and drop you off home.
Beautiful, Richard. Whoever designed that program.
Yeah, that was
that
me.
Is, huh?
That was me.
Good for you. That's so humane.
Yeah, it's important. Again, we are here for the residents and sometimes even the families as well. We want to make sure everyone is happy. So that's why we've instituted this program.
Oh, I love that. And we are showing that actually on our seminar page. I don't know if you even knew that in Boomer Times. Then the other thing that you have is their free weekly support group meetings, whether it's for the challenges of daily life, and there are many challenges.
Yes. Or
loss of a loved one, and I know loss is a very big issue. Coping with stress, so many.
Big one.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It is a big one. And again, it's just someone just to sit and listen and talk to. A lot of the seniors may not have very close friends or family that they can confide in and talk to or maybe cry to. And that's what we do. That's why we're, come to Whitehall and we have support groups.
I love that. And then the last is dealing with major illnesses. So many people, whether they have cancer or something that's so serious.
Or their loved one may have been diagnosed with a terminal illness.
I know, it's really hard. Okay, well, Richard, thank you. It was really wonderful having you here today. Richard Dufour, Dufour, and you're the marketing director of the Whitehall Boca Raton. If you want more information, call 561-392-3000.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's wonderful.